Alright, what's up guys? This is AMICUSTOMS here. I've got a short tutorial video I'm going to show you guys on how to do a direct connect from a subwoofer to an amplifier. There's quite a few companies that do this now. SoundCube is one of the big ones that does this on their two higher end competition grade woofers, the HCC3 and HCC4 line. They come with direct connect leads coming directly off of the woofer. And I get quite a few questions from several people about how to connect from the woofer to their amplifier. Should they do a solder connection? Should they do a current connection? Because generally the amplifier is going to be quite a few feet away from where your woofer is actually at. So the method I'm going to show you today is what I actually use because it is convenient, it's faster than soldering, and it is just as good of a connection as doing a solder connection because it is using a copper crimp instead of an aluminum jacket crimp, which is what a lot of people will use. So what you're going to need to do this is a good set of crimpers. I use Klein's because they're very well built and they get the job done quite well. You can pick these up at a lot of the big box stores, like Home Depot carries these. I believe even Lowe's carries these. Also, you can order them online. They're roughly around 20-30 bucks, something like that. Good pair of scissors to cut heat shrink tube, and a method to shrink the heat shrink, either a lighter or a heat gun. Either one works great. And these are the actual jackets that I use. This is for actually for house wiring, but it works great for using car audio stranded wire. The way this is designed is to take solid core wire, twist it together, slide this jacket over to the core, and then crimp it. So the way I do this is the exact cable that comes on the SoundCube brand woofers. This is 10 gauge OFC wire. So what you're going to do is, let's say this one end was connected to the woofer. So you would strip back about 3/4 of an inch off of the cable. Okay, and I'm not going to twist that together or do anything with it. Now let's say this is the cable that's going to your amplifier. This is 8 gauge, just regular Stinger wire, nothing special about this. I've already pre-stripped this back. So what you would do is you would slide your heat shrink tube over one end. It doesn't really matter which end you go with. I would probably use the smaller wire first. It's just easier to fit it over it. Slide that over. Now you take these copper connections here, and one end is flared out and one end is smooth. So you want the flare end facing away from the cable as you slide it on. So in one way you can kind of remember this is if you flare the cable out and then you drop it down, it's not going to slide back off. That flare end is going to grab. Okay? And then what you do is you take both pieces of cable, almost like if you were going to do a solder connection, and you push them together like this, to where the two cables are basically intertwined with each other. Just going to continue to twist all of this cable together to where it's tight enough to where you can basically just slide this copper jacketed piece over it, right over the middle of that part where you twisted it, because that's where you're going to crimp it. So what I did was 3 crimps all the way down that thing, and at this point you could actually put the heat shrink over this and be done, but I'll go even a step further when I do this in my truck. And I'll actually spread the crimpers out and fold this over on itself and then crimp it again. So there you can see how it's crimped, and then I folded it over on the crimp, and then I'll go ahead and crimp it one last time, and that's connection's done. Okay, that will not come apart. I mean, I'm pulling that, and that's together. That's like the piece of wire is. If you were to saw that in half with a metal blade, you would just see solid copper all the way through that. So that'd be just like as good as a solder connection, in my opinion. So you'll slide the heat shrink tube over it. I'm just going to use the lighter because it's probably just as fast as using the heat gun. And this is just so now this termination point is insulated. Alright, there you have it. There's the connection that you would have from the direct lead from the subwoofer going to the amplifier, and that's 10 gauge going into 8 gauge. One other way you can do this, if you want to do it on the cheap, if you don't want to spend the $5 for a thing of the copper jackets, or if you can't find them, you can go this route, which I used for quite a while and never had an issue with. You can buy some of these, they're just called butt splices. It's actually a 10 gauge or 12 gauge, it's a yellow splice. And what you want to do with these is you will push the insert out of the center of that out, or you could even do it without pushing that out. It just would not be nearly as easy to put the wire in it, but just take a small screwdriver and press this up against anything, the ground, a wall, anything literally, and put enough pressure you can push this insert out, and it looks like this. So once you have that insert out, you would use that in the similar manner as how you use these. It's just you don't have nearly as much space as you can see between that copper piece and this. And you would do the same similar thing, crimp each end into it, put your heat shrink over it, and you have a nice connection at that point. That's faster and easier to do than solder, in my opinion, and it's more versatile. If you have a wall like I do and you're trying to do this, you know, up above your head as you're trying to connect the cables, it's much easier to have a crimp connection and not have to worry about solder dripping down on you or other things of that nature, or having a hot iron in close proximity to your face. So I hope you guys liked the video. Let me know what you think about it, and always keep it loud.